Marcus Rivera adjusted his earpiece as he crouched behind the concrete barrier on the rooftop of the abandoned warehouse. The city sprawled below him like a glittering maze of lights and shadows. His sniper rifle lay perfectly positioned, its scope trained on the building across the street where his target would soon appear. The radio crackled to life in his ear, the familiar voice of his handler breaking through the static. "Cobra, this is Control. Target is confirmed to be in the building. 3rd floor northeast corner office. You have a clear shot in approximately 10 minutes. Marcus pressed his finger to the earpiece. "Copy that, Control. Position is secure, waiting for visual confirmation." He had been a government sniper for 12 years, serving his country in conflicts most people would never hear about. His missions were classified, his existence a ghost in the official records. Tonight's target was Viktor Petrov, an arms dealer who had been selling weapons to terrorist organizations across 3 continents. The intelligence suggested that Petrov's next shipment could arm enough militants to destabilize an entire region. As Marcus settled into his shooting position, he thought about his daughter Sarah, who was probably doing her homework at this very moment, 3,000 miles away. She believed her father worked for an import company, traveling frequently for business meetings. The lie had become so natural that sometimes even Marcus forgot the truth. The wind picked up slightly, and Marcus made a minor adjustment to his scope. He had made this shot 100 times before in training, and dozens of times in the field. His breathing slowed, his heartbeat steadied. This was what he was trained for, what he was good at. One clean shot and another threat to innocent lives would be eliminated. Through his scope, Marcus saw movement in the target building. A figure appeared in the window of the 3rd floor office. The man was tall, wearing a dark suit, and appeared to be speaking on a phone. Marcus studied the face carefully, comparing it to the photographs he had memorized. The facial features matched perfectly. This was definitely Viktor Petrov. "Control, I have visual on the target. Requesting final authorization." "Authorization granted, Cobra. Take the shot when ready." Marcus took a deep breath and began his final preparation. His finger moved to the trigger, applying the slightest pressure. Years of training had taught him to clear his mind of everything except the target. He focused on his breathing, on the crosshairs centered perfectly on Petrov's chest. The wind was calm, the distance was manageable, and his position was stable. Just as Marcus was about to fire, something unexpected happened. A woman entered the office carrying what appeared to be a small child. The woman walked directly into Marcus's line of fire, positioning herself between the sniper and his target. Through the scope, Marcus could see that the child couldn't be more than 5 years old, with curly blonde hair and bright eyes. Marcus hesitated, his finger frozen on the trigger. This wasn't in the briefing. Intelligence had indicated that Petrov would be alone in the office. The presence of a woman and child changed everything. Marcus had never missed a shot when it mattered, but he had also never taken a shot that might harm innocent civilians. "Control, we have a problem. There are civilians in the target zone. A woman and a small child." The radio remained silent for several long seconds. Marcus kept his scope trained on the window, watching as Petrov seemed to be playing with the child, lifting the little one up in the air. The woman appeared to be laughing, and for a moment the scene looked like any normal family gathering. Finally, the radio crackled back to life. "Cobra, maintain position. We're verifying the situation." Marcus waited, his muscles tense from holding the shooting position. Through his scope he watched as Petrov moved around the office, sometimes coming into clear view, sometimes obscured by the woman and child. It would be easy to take the shot when Petrov was alone in the crosshairs, but the timing would have to be perfect. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. The radio remained silent except for occasional static. Marcus began to wonder if there had been a communication breakdown. His training told him to wait for orders, but his instincts were telling him that something was wrong. The longer he waited, the greater the chance that his position would be compromised. Through his earpiece, Marcus heard a new voice, one he didn't recognize. The voice was calm but carried an undertone of urgency that made Marcus's pulse quicken. "This is Death's Whisper. Target sighted." Before Marcus could respond or ask for clarification, the line went dead. Static filled his earpiece, and no amount of adjusting the frequency could restore the connection. Marcus found himself completely cut off from his support team, alone on a rooftop with a high-powered rifle and a target that he was no longer sure he should eliminate. The situation had gone from routine to dangerous in a matter of seconds. Marcus had to make a decision quickly. He could take the shot and complete the mission as originally planned, risking the lives of innocent civilians. He could abort the mission and retreat, allowing a dangerous arms dealer to continue his operations. Or he could wait and try to re-establish contact with his handlers, risking exposure and capture. As Marcus weighed his options, he noticed new movement in the building across the street. Several men in dark clothing were moving through the hallways, approaching the office where Petrov was located. They moved with the precision and coordination of a tactical team, and Marcus realized that his mission might not be the only operation taking place tonight. Marcus watched through his scope as the tactical team moved through the building with military precision. Their black uniforms and coordinated movements suggested they were professionals, but Marcus had no way of knowing if they were allies or enemies. The radio silence from his own team made the situation even more confusing and dangerous. The woman and child were still in the office with Petrov, completely unaware of the approaching danger. Marcus could see Petrov checking his watch and looking toward the door, as if he was expecting someone. The arms dealer seemed calm, which made Marcus wonder if these approaching men were part of Petrov's security detail, or perhaps business associates. Through his earpiece, Marcus heard faint sounds that weren't quite static. He adjusted the frequency carefully, trying to pick up any signal that might help him understand what was happening. After several minutes of fine-tuning, he managed to catch fragments of a conversation in a language he didn't recognize. The voices sounded urgent, and Marcus got the impression that something had gone wrong with someone's plan. Suddenly, the office window exploded outward in a shower of glass and debris. Marcus instinctively pulled back from his scope as pieces of the building rained down onto the street below. When he looked back through the scope, he saw that the office was filled with smoke, and he could no longer see any of the people who had been inside. The tactical team that Marcus had been watching seemed just as surprised by the explosion as he was. Through the scope, he could see them taking cover in the hallway, their weapons drawn and ready. Whatever had caused the explosion, it wasn't part of their plan either. Marcus's mind raced as he tried to understand what was happening. The explosion could have been caused by a bomb, but there had been no warning signs that Petrov was carrying explosives. It was possible that another sniper had taken a shot, but Marcus hadn't heard the sound of a rifle firing. The most disturbing possibility was that his own handlers had ordered someone else to eliminate not just the target, but also the witnesses who could identify Marcus. As the smoke began to clear from the destroyed office, Marcus could see movement inside the building. The tactical team was advancing toward the damaged room, their weapons ready for a firefight. Marcus realized that if there were survivors of the explosion, they would soon be in even greater danger. Through a gap in the smoke, Marcus caught sight of the woman from the office. She was crawling across the floor, clearly injured but still alive. The child was nowhere to be seen, and Marcus felt a cold fear grip his chest as he wondered if the little one had survived the blast. The woman seemed to be searching for something or someone among the debris. The tactical team reached the office door and prepared to enter. Marcus could see through his scope that they were using hand signals to coordinate their assault. Whatever their mission was, they were prepared to use lethal force to complete it. Marcus made a decision that went against all of his training and protocols. He couldn't stand by and watch innocent people be killed, especially when one of them was a child who might still be alive. Marcus adjusted his scope and focused on the lead member of the tactical team. His training had taught him to eliminate threats efficiently and without emotion, and right now, these armed men represented a threat to civilians. Marcus controlled his breathing and waited for a clear shot. The first shot rang out across the cityscape and the lead tactical team member dropped to the ground. The rest of the team immediately took cover, searching for the source of the sniper fire. Marcus had revealed his position, but he had also saved the life of anyone who might still be alive in that office. Marcus quickly repositioned himself on the rooftop, knowing that the tactical team would soon figure out his location and return fire. As he moved, he tried once more to contact his handlers on the radio. Still nothing but static filled his earpiece. He was completely on his own, in the middle of a situation that was spiraling out of control. From his new position, Marcus could see that the woman in the office was still moving. She had found something in the debris and was clutching it tightly to her chest. As Marcus focused his scope, he realized she was holding the child, who appeared to be unconscious but breathing. Relief flooded through Marcus as he saw that both civilians were still alive. The remaining members of the tactical team had regrouped and were now searching the surrounding buildings for the sniper who had attacked them. Marcus knew it was only a matter of time before they found him. He had perhaps 10 minutes before they reached his building, and he needed to use that time wisely. Marcus gathered his equipment and prepared to move to a new location. As he dismantled his rifle, he noticed something strange about the building where the explosion had occurred. The damage pattern didn't look like it had been caused by a bomb or a sniper shot. Instead, it looked like something had exploded from inside the office itself. A terrible possibility occurred to Marcus. What if Petrov hadn't been the target of the mission? What if the woman and child were the real targets, and Petrov was supposed to be collateral damage? The arms dealer might have been nothing more than a cover story to get Marcus into position for a completely different kind of assassination. The radio crackled to life one more time, and Marcus heard that same unfamiliar voice from before. Death's whisper to all units. Primary objective failed. Initiate cleanup protocol immediately. Marcus's blood ran cold as he realized what cleanup protocol meant. It meant eliminating all witnesses and evidence, including the sniper who had been sent to carry out the original mission. Marcus wasn't just a soldier following orders anymore. He had become a liability that needed to be eliminated. As Marcus finished packing his equipment, he could hear footsteps in the stairwell of his building. The tactical team had found him faster than he had expected. Marcus checked his sidearm and prepared for a fight that would determine whether he lived to see his daughter again. Marcus moved silently through the darkened building, his military training taking over as he navigated the maze of abandoned offices and empty corridors. The footsteps in the stairwell were getting closer, and he could hear at least 3 different sets of boots climbing toward his floor. His sidearm was ready, but Marcus knew that his best chance of survival was to avoid a direct confrontation until he could reach a more defensible position. The building was old and filled with hiding spots, but it was also a trap. There were only 2 stairwells, and Marcus was certain that the tactical team had already blocked both exits. His only option was to find a way to turn the hunters into the hunted, using his knowledge of urban warfare to level the playing field. Marcus ducked into an office near the building's center and quickly assessed his options. The windows faced the wrong direction for an escape route, but the office had a false ceiling that might provide access to the building's ventilation system. As quietly as possible, Marcus moved a desk under the ceiling tiles and climbed up to investigate. The space above the ceiling was cramped and filled with pipes and electrical conduits, but it was large enough for Marcus to crawl through. More importantly, it connected to other parts of the building, giving him the ability to move without being detected. Marcus pulled himself up into the ceiling space just as he heard the tactical team reach his floor. From above, Marcus could hear the team members communicating in short, professional phrases as they cleared each office systematically. Their search pattern was thorough and methodical, which meant they were experienced in building-to-building combat. Marcus realized that these weren't just hired mercenaries. They were trained soldiers, possibly from the same government agency that employed him. As Marcus crawled through the ceiling space, following the main electrical conduit toward the opposite end of the building, he began to piece together what might be happening. The mysterious Death's Whisper communication suggested that this was a black operation, the kind of mission that officially didn't exist. Marcus had been sent to eliminate Petrov, but someone else had been given orders to eliminate everyone involved in the operation, including Marcus himself. The ceiling space brought Marcus to a utility room on the building's far side. He carefully lowered himself down and found himself in a room filled with electrical panels and water heaters. More importantly, the room had a service ladder that led to the building's basement. Marcus could hear the tactical team still searching the upper floors, giving him time to explore other options. The basement was dark and smelled of old concrete and rust. Marcus used his phone's flashlight to navigate through the maze of support pillars and storage areas. Near the back of the basement, he found what he was looking for: a tunnel that connected to the building's old steam heating system. The tunnel was narrow and uncomfortable, but it led under the street to the building where the explosion had occurred. Marcus crawled through the tunnel, his mind focused on reaching the woman and child who had been in Petrov's office. If they were still alive, They might have information that could help him understand what was really happening. They might also be in danger from other operatives who were trying to cover up the failed mission. The tunnel emerged in the basement of the damaged building. Marcus could hear sirens in the distance, which meant that emergency responders were finally arriving at the scene. The explosion had attracted attention, and soon the area would be swarming with police and firefighters. Marcus needed to find the survivors and get them to safety before the cleanup crew eliminated all the witnesses. Marcus climbed the damaged stairwell toward the third floor where the explosion had occurred. The building's structure had been weakened by the blast, and Marcus had to be careful not to trigger a collapse. As he climbed, he could smell smoke and chemicals, suggesting that the explosion had involved more than just conventional explosives. The third-floor hallway was a disaster zone. Ceiling tiles hung down like broken teeth, and debris covered the floor. The office where Marcus had seen Petrov was completely destroyed, with one wall blown out entirely. Marcus approached carefully, listening for any signs of life among the wreckage. In the corner of the destroyed office, Marcus found them. The woman was conscious but badly injured, cradling the child who appeared to be sleeping. As Marcus approached, the woman looked up at him with fear in her eyes. She said something in a language Marcus didn't understand, but her meaning was clear. She was terrified and trying to protect the child from another potential threat. Marcus holstered his weapon and held up his hands to show that he meant no harm. In English, he said softly, "I'm here to help. I'm not going to hurt you or the child." The woman studied Marcus's face for a moment, then replied in heavily accented English, "You are American soldier?" Marcus nodded. "I'm going to get you both out of here. There are people coming who want to hurt you. Do you understand?" The woman's eyes widened with renewed fear. Victor said this might happen. He said if anything went wrong, we should trust no one except... She paused, looking confused and frightened. "Except who?" Marcus asked gently. "Except the one who calls himself Death's Whisper," the woman whispered. Marcus felt his blood freeze. The woman and child weren't just innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. They were connected to the mysterious operation that had gone wrong. The woman knew about Death's Whisper, which meant she was either part of the conspiracy or she knew something that made her a target. Before Marcus could ask more questions, he heard footsteps in the hallway outside the destroyed office. The tactical team had found their way into the building and was searching for survivors. Marcus had to make a decision quickly. He could abandon the woman and child and try to escape on his own, or he could risk his life to protect them, even though he didn't fully understand their role in the operation. Marcus looked at the child, who couldn't be more than 5 years old, and made his choice. Whatever secrets these people held, whatever danger they represented, he couldn't leave a child to be killed by a cleanup crew. "Can you walk?" Marcus asked the woman. She nodded, struggling to her feet while still holding the child. "My name is Elena. This is my daughter, Sophia. Victor was my brother." The footsteps in the hallway were getting closer. Marcus helped Elena to her feet and pointed toward a hole in the office wall that led to an adjacent building. "We need to move now. Stay close to me and don't make any noise." As they prepared to escape through the damaged wall, Elena grabbed Marcus's arm. "There is something you must know about Death's Whisper. Victor discovered who he really is. That's why they tried to kill us all." Marcus helped Elena and her daughter Sophia through the hole in the wall, moving as quietly as possible while the tactical team searched the floors below them. The adjacent building was older and more deteriorated, but it provided cover and multiple escape routes. As they moved through the dusty corridors, Elena clutched a small digital device that she had managed to save from the explosion. "Victor gave me this before he died," Elena whispered, showing Marcus the device. "He said it contains evidence about Death's Whisper. Information that proves he has been operating inside your government for many years." Marcus examined the device briefly. It looked like an encrypted hard drive, the kind used to store classified information. If Elena was telling the truth, the device might contain the answers to all the questions that were getting him and these civilians killed. "What kind of evidence?" Marcus asked as they descended a service stairway toward the building's rear exit. "Financial records, communication logs, mission reports," Elena replied. Victor was not really arms dealer. He was undercover agent working to expose Death's Whisper. But the operation was discovered and they tried to eliminate everyone who knew the truth. Marcus felt pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. If Petrov had been an undercover agent rather than a criminal, then Marcus had been sent to kill one of the good guys. The mission had been designed to eliminate an agent who was getting too close to exposing a high-level conspiracy within the intelligence community. They reached the building's rear exit and Marcus carefully checked the alley outside. The area appeared to be clear, but Marcus knew that the tactical team would soon expand their search to include the surrounding buildings. They needed to find a safe place where Elena could explain what she knew about Death's Whisper. Marcus led Elena and Sophia through a series of back alleys, avoiding the main streets where police and emergency vehicles were converging on the explosion site. His military training had taught him how to move through urban environments without being detected, and he used every technique he knew to keep them hidden from surveillance. After 20 minutes of careful movement, they reached an abandoned subway station that Marcus had identified as a potential safe house during his mission planning. The station had been closed for years, but the tunnels were still accessible through a maintenance entrance that most people didn't know existed. In the dim light of the abandoned platform, Elena finally had a chance to explain what her brother had discovered. Sophia had fallen asleep in her mother's arms, exhausted by the night's traumatic events. Marcus kept watch while Elena accessed the encrypted files on Victor's device. Death's Whisper is not one person, Elena began, her voice echoing softly in the empty tunnel. It is code name for a group of people inside your CIA, your military, your government. They have been selling weapons, drugs, information to highest bidders for more than 10 years. Marcus listened carefully as Elena described a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of the American intelligence community. According to Victor's investigation, Death's Whisper had been responsible for dozens of black operations that were designed to benefit their criminal enterprises. Rather than national security, Victor spent 3 years building his cover as arms dealer, Elena continued. He made contacts with Death's Whisper members, earned their trust, gathered evidence of their crimes. But someone discovered what he was really doing. Elena showed Marcus financial records on the device that detailed payments to various government officials and military contractors. The amounts were staggering, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars over several years. If the records were authentic, they proved that Death's Whisper had been operating as a criminal organization while using government resources and authority. Who was Victor really working for? Marcus asked. International Task Force, Elena replied. Representatives from several countries working together to investigate corruption in military and intelligence agencies. Victor was their lead investigator for American operations. Marcus studied the files on Victor's device, recognizing some of the names and operations mentioned in the documents. Several missions that Marcus had participated in over the years were listed in the files, with notations suggesting that their true purposes had been different from what Marcus had been told. The realization hit Marcus like a physical blow. He hadn't been serving his country for the past 12 years. He had been working for a criminal organization that used patriotism and national security as cover for their illegal activities. Every mission he had completed, every target he had eliminated, had been part of Death's Whisper's business operations. Why didn't Victor contact the FBI or other law enforcement? Marcus asked. Elena's expression darkened. Because Death's Whisper has people everywhere. FBI, CIA, military command, even some judges and senators. Victor tried to work through official channels at first, but every time he made progress, his contacts would disappear or die in accidents. Marcus understood the scope of the problem. If Death's Whisper had infiltrated multiple government agencies, then there was no one Elena could trust with the evidence she carried. Anyone she contacted might be working for the conspiracy, and revealing the information to the wrong person would result in their deaths. Sophia stirred in her mother's arms and opened her eyes. She looked at Marcus with the innocent curiosity of a child who didn't understand why adults were so frightened. Marcus smiled at her and made a funny face, earning a small giggle that echoed through the tunnel. What happens to her if something happens to you? Marcus asked Elena. Victor arranged for safe passage to Switzerland, Elena replied. There are people there who can protect her and help her start new life. But first, this information must reach the right people. The world must know what Death's Whisper has been doing. Marcus heard the sound of vehicles stopping above the subway station. Through a ventilation grate, he could see flashlights moving in the street. The tactical team had expanded their search and was now checking every building and hiding spot in the area. They found us, Marcus whispered. Elena clutched the device tighter and looked at Marcus with desperate eyes. If they catch us, all of Victor's work dies with us. Hundreds of people will have died for nothing, and Death's Whisper will continue their operations. Marcus checked his sidearm and counted his remaining ammunition. He had enough bullets for a brief firefight, but not enough to hold off a full tactical team indefinitely. If they were going to survive, they needed a plan that relied on intelligence rather than firepower. "I know a way out through the old tunnel system," Marcus said, "but we'll have to move fast and we can't make any noise." As they prepared to move deeper into the abandoned subway system, Marcus heard a familiar sound that made his heart skip a beat. It was the sound of his encrypted radio receiving a signal. Someone was trying to contact him on a frequency that only his handlers should know about. Marcus activated the radio and heard a voice he recognized. It was his original handler, the man who had given him the mission to eliminate Viktor Petrov. "Cobra, this is Control. Respond immediately. We have a situation that requires your immediate assistance." Marcus stared at the radio in his hand, his mind racing as he considered whether to respond to his handler's call. Elena watched him carefully, understanding that this communication could determine whether they lived or died. Sophia had fallen back asleep, unaware of the deadly game being played around her. "Don't trust him," Elena whispered urgently. "Victor's files show that your handler, the one you call Control, has been working with Death's Whisper for years. He was the one who sent you to kill my brother." Marcus felt his world collapsing around him. Control had been his handler for 8 years, guiding him through dozens of missions and keeping him alive in impossible situations. The idea that this man had been using Marcus as a weapon for a criminal organization was almost too much to accept. The radio crackled again. "Cobra, we know you're alive. We tracked your position to the subway system. You have civilians with you, and we can help protect them if you cooperate." Marcus made a difficult decision. He needed to hear what Control had to say, but he also needed to protect Elena and Sophia. He activated the radio but kept his voice neutral and professional. "This is Cobra. I'm listening." "Thank God." Control's voice sounded relieved. "Listen carefully. The mission has been compromised by a rogue element within the agency. Viktor Petrov was actually an undercover agent working to expose a conspiracy. You were sent to eliminate him by operatives who wanted to silence him." Marcus exchanged glances with Elena, who nodded grimly. Control was telling the truth about Viktor being an undercover agent, but Elena's evidence suggested that Control himself was part of the conspiracy. "Who is Death's Whisper?" Marcus asked directly. There was a long pause before Control responded. "Death's Whisper is the code name for the rogue operation. We've been hunting them for months, but they have people inside multiple agencies. Viktor was helping us identify the conspirators when they discovered his true identity." Elena shook her head violently and pointed to the encrypted device. On the screen were financial records showing payments made to Control's bank account, totaling more than $2 million over the past 3 years. "Cobra, I need you to bring the civilians to Extraction Point Beta," Control continued. "We have a safe house prepared and medical treatment for the injured woman. The child will be protected." Marcus knew Extraction Point Beta. It was an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, isolated and easily defended. It would also be the perfect place for an execution disguised as a rescue operation. "Control, I need proof that you're really trying to help," Marcus said. "There's been too much confusion tonight." "How do I know you're not part of Death's Whisper?" Another long pause. "Because if I were part of Death's Whisper, you would already be dead. I've been protecting you from the cleanup crew for the past 2 hours, feeding them false information about your location." Elena accessed another file on Victor's device and showed Marcus a series of intercepted communications. The messages showed Control coordinating with the tactical team that was hunting them, providing updates on Marcus's likely hiding spots and escape routes. Marcus realized that he was caught in a deadly game where everyone claimed to be on his side while simultaneously trying to kill him. Control might be telling the truth about protecting him, or he might be manipulating Marcus into bringing Elena and the evidence to a place where they could all be eliminated quietly. "I need time to think about this," Marcus said into the radio. "There is no time," Control replied urgently. "The tactical team is closing in on your position. I can only protect you if you move to the extraction point within the next 30 minutes. Marcus turned off the radio and looked at Elena. "What do you think? Could he be telling the truth?" Elena studied the files on Victor's device. "Perhaps. Viktor suspected that some people in your government were trying to stop Death's Whisper. Maybe your Control is one of the good ones. But how can we know for certain?" Marcus considered their options. They could try to escape through the subway tunnels, but they would eventually need help to get Elena and Sophia out of the country safely. They could go to the extraction point and hope that Control was genuinely trying to help them, or they could find a third option that didn't rely on trusting anyone. Is there anyone else Victor trusted? Marcus asked. Someone outside the government who might be able to help? Elena nodded slowly. There was journalist Victor was working with. A woman named Sarah Chen who has been investigating government corruption for years. She has contacts who can help get information to the public safely. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Sarah Chen? Are you sure that was her name? Yes, why? Do you know her? Marcus's mind reeled as he realized another terrible possibility. Sarah was his daughter's name and Chen was the last name of his daughter's teacher. The coincidence was too great to ignore. Elena, I need to see Victor's communications with this journalist. Elena accessed the files and showed Marcus email exchanges between Victor and Sarah Chen. As Marcus read the messages, he discovered that Sarah Chen knew details about his missions that only someone with high-level security clearance could know. She knew about his daughter, his cover identity, even his real name. The terrible truth began to dawn on Marcus. Death's Whisper hadn't just infiltrated his agency, they had infiltrated his personal life. The journalist Victor trusted might be the same person who had been watching Marcus's family, ready to use them as leverage if Marcus ever became a problem. Marcus activated his radio again. Control, I need you to check on my daughter immediately. Send someone to verify that she's safe. Already done, Control replied. She's fine, Cobra. She's at school completely safe. What school? Marcus asked, testing Control's knowledge. Control provided the correct name and address of Marcus's daughter's school, along with details that proved he had current information about her activities. Elena looked confused. Why are you asking about your daughter? Marcus showed Elena the communications between Victor and Sarah Chen. Because I think Victor's journalist contact has been watching my family. If Death's Whisper wanted to control me, the best way would be to have someone close to my daughter. Elena's eyes widened as she understood the implications. If Victor trusted her, and she is working for Death's Whisper, then Victor may have given her information that could be used to hunt us. The radio crackled with Control's voice again. Cobra, you need to move now. The tactical team has found the entrance to the subway system. You have maybe 10 minutes before they reach your position. Marcus made his decision. He couldn't trust Control completely, but he couldn't stay in the tunnels with Elena and Sophia. Their only chance was to move, and moving meant choosing between two potentially deadly options. Elena, we're going to the extraction point, Marcus said, but we're not going to trust anyone completely. Do you have a way to send Victor's files to multiple people simultaneously? Elena nodded. The device has emergency broadcast function. Victor programmed it to send all files to news organizations, government oversight committees, and international investigators if we activate the dead man's switch. Then that's our insurance policy, Marcus said. If anyone tries to betray us, the whole world will know about Death's Whisper within minutes. Marcus led Elena and Sophia through the abandoned subway tunnels toward an exit that would bring them closer to the extraction point. The sound of the tactical team searching the tunnels echoed behind them, growing closer with each passing minute. Elena had activated the dead man's switch on Victor's device, which would automatically broadcast all the evidence if she failed to enter a code every 12 hours. As they emerged from the subway system through a maintenance tunnel, Marcus contacted Control one final time. Control, we're moving to extraction point Beta, but I want to make something clear. The civilians have evidence that will expose Death's Whisper. If anything happens to us, that evidence goes public automatically. Understood, Cobra. The extraction team is standing by. ETA to extraction point? 20 minutes, Marcus replied, though he planned to take a longer route that would allow him to scout the area before committing to the meeting. Elena shifted Sophia to her other arm as they moved through the city's industrial district. The little girl had been remarkably quiet throughout their escape, seeming to understand that silence was important for their safety. Marcus, Elena said softly, there is something else Victor discovered that you should know. Death's Whisper has been planning something big. An operation that would give them control over multiple government agencies permanently. What kind of operation? Elena accessed another file on the device. False flag attack. They plan to stage terrorist incident, and use it to justify massive expansion of surveillance and security programs that Death's Whisper members would control. Marcus studied the documents as they walked. The planned operation was sophisticated and terrifying. Death's Whisper intended to orchestrate an attack that would kill hundreds of innocent people, then use the public's fear and anger to seize unprecedented power within the government. When is this supposed to happen? According to Victor's information, within the next few weeks. But the exact date and location were encrypted in files that Victor didn't have access to. Marcus realized that stopping Death's Whisper was about more than just exposing their past crimes. If Elena's information was accurate, they needed to prevent a massive terrorist attack that would fundamentally change the balance of power in the government. They reached the perimeter of the extraction point, an abandoned warehouse surrounded by empty lots and old industrial buildings. Marcus used binoculars to survey the area, looking for signs of the promised extraction team. He could see 2 vehicles parked near the warehouse and several figures moving in the shadows around the building. "Something's wrong," Marcus whispered to Elena. "There are too many people down there. Control said it would be a small extraction team." Through the binoculars, Marcus counted at least 8 armed figures positioned around the warehouse. Their positions and movements suggested they were setting up for an ambush rather than a rescue operation. Marcus's radio crackled to life. "Cobra, this is Control. We're in position at the extraction point. Bring the civilians to the main entrance. Control, I count 8 hostiles in position around the warehouse. Are these your people?" There was a pause before Control responded. "Negative, Cobra, we're tracking the same hostiles. They arrived about 10 minutes ago. It looks like Death's Whisper found the extraction point." Marcus felt a chill as he realized the implications. Either Control was lying and the armed figures were his people, or Death's Whisper had somehow learned about the extraction point and set their own trap. "Elena, can you use Victor's device to broadcast the files right now, without waiting for the dead man's switch?" Elena nodded and began accessing the broadcast function. "It will take about 5 minutes to upload everything to all the recipients." Marcus made a decision that went against every instinct he had developed during his military career. Instead of approaching the extraction point carefully and quietly, he was going to create a distraction that would draw attention from every law enforcement agency in the city. "Control, I'm going to try something. If you're really one of the good guys, you'll understand why I have to do this." Marcus pulled out a small explosive device that he carried for emergency situations. It wasn't large enough to cause serious damage, but it would create enough noise and light to attract attention from police and emergency services. "Marcus, what are you doing?" Elena asked, still working on uploading Victor's files. "I'm calling for backup," Marcus replied. "If Control is telling the truth, he'll help us. If he's working for Death's Whisper, the police will complicate his plans." Marcus threw the explosive device toward the warehouse and immediately pulled Elena and Sophia down behind a concrete barrier. The explosion lit up the night sky and could be heard for miles in every direction. Within minutes, sirens were approaching from multiple directions. The armed figures around the warehouse scattered in confusion, apparently not prepared for such a dramatic development. In the chaos, Marcus could see someone signaling with a flashlight from inside the warehouse. It was either Control trying to identify himself, or Death's Whisper trying to lure them into a trap. Elena's device chimed softly, indicating that the file upload was complete. Victor's evidence about Death's Whisper was now in the hands of journalists, investigators, and oversight committees around the world. Whatever happened next, the conspiracy would be exposed. Marcus's radio crackled one final time. "Cobra, this is Control. That was either brilliant or insane. The hostiles are retreating, but police will be here in about 3 minutes. There's a service road behind the warehouse. We can extract you there." Marcus had to make a final decision about whether to trust Control. Police sirens were getting closer, and soon the area would be swarming with law enforcement officers who might or might not be connected to Death's Whisper. "Elena, are you ready to run?" She nodded, holding Sophia tightly. "Whatever happens, the truth is out now." Victor's sacrifice was not wasted. Marcus led them toward the service road behind the warehouse, staying low and moving quickly. As they approached the road, he could see a single vehicle with its engine running. A figure stood next to the vehicle, holding a radio and scanning the area with night vision equipment. When they reached the vehicle, Marcus finally came face to face with the man he had known only as Control. He was older than Marcus had expected, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much violence and betrayal. I know you don't trust me completely, Control said, but I've been fighting Death's Whisper for 3 years. Victor was helping me build a case against them. Elena studied Control's face carefully. You are Agent Morrison. Victor mentioned you in his files. He said you were one of the few people in the agency who could not be bought. Control nodded. James Morrison. And I know who you are, Elena Petrov. Your brother was a brave man who died trying to do the right thing. As police cars surrounded the warehouse area, Morrison helped Elena and Sophia into the vehicle. We have a safe house prepared. Elena and Sophia will be protected while we use Victor's evidence to dismantle Death's Whisper. Marcus climbed into the vehicle, finally allowing himself to believe that they might survive the night. As they drove away from the chaos at the warehouse, he thought about his daughter Sarah, who would never know how close she had come to losing her father. Elena looked at the device that contained Victor's files, then at Sophia, who was finally sleeping peacefully. What happens to Death's Whisper now? Morrison checked his watch as more sirens filled the night air. Now the real work begins. We have the evidence, but arresting everyone involved will take months. Some of them will try to run, others will try to destroy evidence, and a few might try to accelerate their false flag operation. Marcus realized that exposing Death's Whisper was only the beginning. The conspiracy had tentacles reaching into multiple government agencies, and removing all of them would be like performing surgery on the government itself. Agent Morrison, Marcus said, I want to help finish what Victor started. These people used me to kill innocent people for 12 years. I want to make sure they pay for what they've done. Morrison nodded as they disappeared into the night, carrying the evidence that would eventually bring down one of the most dangerous conspiracies in American history. The whisper of death had finally been silenced, but the echoes of Victor Petrov's sacrifice would continue to protect innocent lives for years to come. 6 months later, Elena and Sophia were living safely in Switzerland under new identities. Marcus had testified before a closed congressional committee about Death's Whisper's operations. 18 government officials and contractors had been arrested, and the planned false flag operation had been prevented. Marcus returned to his daughter Sarah, who never learned the true details of her father's final mission. He told her that he had decided to retire from his traveling job to spend more time with family. As he watched her play in their backyard, Marcus knew that Victor Petrov's courage had not only exposed a deadly conspiracy, but had also given Marcus the chance to be the father his daughter deserved.